Uppy, uppy, uppy. It's One Funny Morning, the Saturday edition. I'm Dana Blizzard, and it's too early in the morning. This is the dumbest show in the whole world.
From Monday
to Friday. Sometimes on Saturdays.
Why would you say that in front of all these people?
Dean stinks.
You never know what's gonna happen.
That's your Dateline voice?
I don't know.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't.
It's not a chicken leg. This is a chicken leg.
Look at that manhole cover on my face.
Not a bad rendition of me. Hold on.
We know your brother. We'll give you a ride to school or whatever.
That's called
our
murder
stuff.
in New Jersey.
He was a lot
Like what is?
with his everything.
Oh.
What's outside your Puerto de Clima?
That's Stellan! Yeah! Good morning, good morning. It's the Saturday edition. Look who got up and took a shower today. That's me. I'm that girl because I was gross and disgusting. So good morning. Let me go on the TikTok. How is everybody? And sometimes on Saturday. Perfect timing. I just left Zumba. Why would you say that? Why would you tell people that, Tanya? Because the rest of us that have just been rolling around in our own fat, don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear about your healthy lifestyle. Just want to put it out there. I know, Malene. But here we are. It's a beautiful Saturday. Hopefully you've got something fun happening this weekend. Deb, we all need a good laugh all the time. So you're going to love our guest today. First, I do want to say, if you have not, yesterday on the morning show, somebody said, are we going to talk about rugs and TikTok? I don't really know what that meant, so I ignored it, as one would. And then I started reading about rugs and TikTok. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll give you a few brush strokes. I'm not going to tell you how this story ends because, girl, you can fill an hour. Just, okay, it's enough with the water. You can fill an hour of your life with this. A lady in Ohio and her husband, what's the rugs? Let me tell you, Malene, I'm not going to tell you, and don't ruin it. You already know what I'm talking about, don't ruin it. The lady and her husband in Ohio were trying to install a fence. They start digging to put the posts in. When they start digging, they find a rug. A regular rug, Dina? No. A rolled up rug. 2.5 feet down, 6 feet wide-ish, they think. And people are like, and real spooky things have been happening in her house. Her computer screen cracked. There's things that are being moved in her house. Real creepy. So her and her husband start digging. Well, she's live on TikTok and people are like, girl, you got to dig it. So she calls the police. Police come out. She's got it all on tape, showed it to the universe. And they were like, listen, you definitely have a rug here. And it's definitely 2.5 feet down. Yeah, but there's no dead body here. So we're not going to step in. If you find a dead body, call us, which I think is a funny thing to say. So she continues going. This all transpired over like the course of like 2 days. And the story finished yesterday. I'm not going to tell you what happened, but cadaver dogs were brought out. Excavators were brought out. The entire community. Monica. I thought it was crazy when I turned my shed into a shadorm. What? What's the craziest things ever happened here? Hey! Brooke Blizzard, I literally just told thousands of people, don't say what happened. And then you came in here. Oh, Malene says, I don't think it's finished. Wow.
I'm just saying.
Great job, Brooke Blizzard.
Disappointed.
Thank you, Brooke, Victoria said. You're the worst. I have said from the time that you were young, you're the worst secret keeper ever. If you would like the world to know something, tell Brooke Blizzard.
I didn't know it was a
She'll
secret.
tell everybody. By the way, she just fell down the steps. That's why I'm late. I'm not going to tell you the details. Or what happened when she got all shook up. But it wasn't pretty. I didn't hear. Good. Mm-hmm. The picture of a guy in a camping chair watching the whole thing. Yeah. No, Kelsey, we're not repeating it. Mm-hmm. Right after Victoria. Maybe you're the only one that heard it. Anyway, so yeah, Erlinda, I'm not telling you. I'm telling you it's a good watch. I don't have the TikTok. Where can I go to watch the Ohio thing? On TikTok. Girl, you're gonna have to download. I'm sure someone has written on it was literally all over the news people. They roped off her yard, like she was taping everything and putting it out. And then they were like, stop, and put yellow tape up, said, you can't go past here, lady. Mm-hmm. Just put in rugs, TikTok. You'll find her. And an hour of your life will go by. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, a lot of things have been going down in the last 24 hours. Hey, Grumpy Jeff. So invested in the story. Literally, everybody was like, what's happening with the rug lady? And I was like, this is too much. This is too much. Her name is Katie. That's it. Why was she digging? They were putting a fence in, trying to put the post in. It was a whole thing. So if you're looking to waste some time today, I wouldn't. Not today because it's beautiful. So you should go out and do things. And tomorrow in the Philadelphia area, there is an amazing show happening that you should also go see. But it's also touring the country. So we love being able to bring in great comics and entertainers to introduce you because not only are they performing here in Philadelphia, but they tour around. So maybe you would like to go see the show in your area as well. Linda, if you put in rug, Katie, TikTok, you'll find the lady. So our guest today is an absolutely hysterical, funny lady. I've known her forever. A few years ago, she created an amazing show. So let me formally introduce you to Carole Montgomery. She has a long and varied career with over 24 television credits to her name. Carole Montgomery is a respected veteran of the stand-up comedy scene nationwide. In addition to her numerous television appearances, Carole has headlined clubs, colleges across the U.S., starred in 2 different Las Vegas production shows, and in her 10 years as a Las Vegas star, she was seen by over 5 million audience members. She's created and stars in 3 Showtime specials called Funny Women of a Certain Age, which has a tour stop. It's tomorrow at Helium Comedy Club in Philadelphia. So welcome, Carole Montgomery, to the show.
Ooh, applause. Oh, yay. Yay. Yay.
How are you today?
Good. I'm good. I apologize. I did not put any makeup on.
No, it's okay.
I just, we live behind a construction site.
Okay.
So Saturday mornings is the only time that they start at 9 as opposed to 7. So I slept in and
Now, let me ask you, this construction site, have they found any rolled up rugs?
They have not, but because this used to be a different building and they had to blast it and all that stuff and everything came down and everything. And there was not one dead body. And I was very disappointed.
Right? That's weird, Carole. Now you're in New York, right? New York
right.
City?
I'm in New York.
New York City. That's weird. You should complain.
I should, but I'm gonna start. All my videos now on TikTok, I'm just gonna put down #rug. And
rug. That's it, and you'll get dinged. So this lady, her name's Katie. She's kind of funny, but she went from having like 6,000 followers on TikTok. Now she has 2 million in like a day.
Yeah,
and it's just crazy.
Yeah. She's gonna be doing a comedy tour any day now.
Any minute. It's called the Dead Dog Tour. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her and the Hawk Tua girl, they're going to go on and they're going to go do comedy now. I'll just do my jokey jokes. That's all. I'll just do.
Well, you have an amazing tour called Funny Women of a Certain Age. So, briefly, let's go back because you are a veteran for sure of comedy. So tell everybody how long you've been doing stand-up. How'd you get started?
Oh, God. Shit. Okay. I started stand-up comedy in 1979. Back in the day where they had rotary phones, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
So I've been doing stand-up probably, I don't even know what that math is. I know it's probably 45 years now. 45 yeyears.
How old were you when you started?
2. I was 21, so I'm 66 now.
Wow.
I back in the day, before the internet, of course, they were just comedians. And I remember, I was always very sassy, and I was with a bunch of friends of mine, and they said, you should be a comedian. And I was like, I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I said, you mean like the stuff that Johnny Carson does in the Tonight Show?
Yeah.
And they were like, no. So I had to really explore it. And I started in 79. I started working out in a small club in Brooklyn called Pips, where David Brenner and Joan Rivers started. And from there, I mean, I say this on stage. I said, I've been doing stand-up for 45 years. I could have killed somebody twice and been out of jail by now.
And that's important to look at it that way.
It's a long time. It's a long time.
I started doing stand-up at 30. And so I was a bit older, but my daughter started doing it 2 years ago. So she was 20.
Yeah.
She couldn't get into the clubs, and it was a whole thing. Who would you say were like the notable people that you kind of looked up to at that time?
Well, I remember seeing Freddie Prinze on The Tonight Show. So, and not Freddie Prinze Jr. for the youngins who are out there. Freddie Prinze was this young Latino comic, and he just like, when you listen to his material now, it's kind of pretty hacky in the sense that it's all, Puerto Ricans do this and white people do this. But back then, we're talking the late 70s. Nobody had done that. Mm-hmm. And he was the person that I remember seeing on The Tonight Show going, wow, that's fast. I loved what he did. Mm-hmm. But my idols, of course, are George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Lily Tomlin. Those were the people that I looked up to. But I started with, back in the day, you used to have to wait online and get a ticket. Like, I'm really aging myself.
Crazy,
yeah. It's the same thing like for tickets for concerts. You used to sit on the floor on the sidewalk and wait for, Ticketmaster to open up. There was no online.
Yeah.
I was online with Rita Rudner. We were online waiting to get our tickets to go audition for Catch a Rising Star.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's awesome. And so I also know, which I think was extraordinary, is that you spent a lot of time doing USO tours.
Yes, I did.
Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I think the way we met was with Mark Riccadonna.
It was through Mark, yeah.
Yeah. So they're actually not the USO tours. They're Armed Forces Entertainment.
Okay.
They're like the redheaded stepchild of the military show.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like Bob Hope did the USO tours. That's what everybody. But Armed Forces Entertainment is through the government, because I think USO is like a separate thing. Anyway.
Got it.
So we the first time we went and did one, it was me and Mark and a few other comics, and we were in Iraq during the war. It was wild. It was wild. Wow. It was great. I think that like when the first tour, they had been asking me for years, and I kept turning them down because my son was young. But now at the time he was 18 years old, and I said, now's the time to go. He's a grown boy. I can leave. Mm-hmm. And when I came back, people would say to me, I was with my family, and somebody said, how was it? I said, it was the greatest experience of my life. And my son goes, what about me? I went, not anymore.
I was going to say, when you first start doing that, like, are you nervous about, because you were going to war zones, like,
oh yeah,
not something comedians usually are doing. I mean, it feels like it sometimes on stage, but not realistically.
Well, it's so funny. I have to find, I have a picture of me that somebody took just before we were getting on the C-130 to go to Iraq, and I was nervous. You could tell it in my face, and it was one of the soldiers that was loading up the plane. He goes and he took a photo of me, and I'll find it. It's somewhere on probably my BlackBerry or something. Mm-hmm. But he came up to me. He says, "I'll see you when you get back." I said, "Am I getting back?" And he said, "You'll be fine. You'll be fine." And honestly, like they've said this. I mean, if the entertainers get hurt, no one's ever coming to the troops again.
Oh yeah.
So we were that first tour, especially because it was we were in a war zone. We each had our own bodyguards. I couldn't go to the bathroom without a bodyguard.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And what was funny about that is they were dressed very. You didn't know that they were bodyguards. They had on their little Lacoste t-shirts and khakis and everything. And I said, "What are you going to do if somebody attacks me? Look at you." And he picks up his shirt, and underneath his shirt, he had every weapon imaginable, like a machete, a bomb, a grenade, a couple of guns. I was like, okay, I'll come to the bathroom now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. Now, do you do much of that anymore, or are you staying?
You know what? I would like to, but honestly, I don't think I can physically take it anymore.
Yeah.
Because I started doing those. I think I was, Lane was 18. So I was 50. So that's how I do my life, by the way. I'm sure you do this too.
Yeah, no, the same. Yeah. How old are my kids? Okay.
How old are my kids? That's how I know.
Mhm.
And you know, that especially the first tour, because we were, you know, they were like, take a backpack because we may be gone all day and you may have to change clothes, and we'd be jumping out of helicopters and being, you know, when we first got, the first night we got there, we were so tired, and they put us in, you know, these bunks, and I was with Leanne Lord, you know Leanne.
Yeah, of course.
And Leanne had an alarm clock, and we were so tired, and I remember saying to Leanne, listen, can you make sure you set the alarm, make sure you wake me up. And I went and put my head on the pillow, and all of a sudden she started tapping me. That's how exhausted I was.
Wow.
That I didn't even, she said, we got to go. And it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and we just constantly were going. And when you're 50, you know, you can do that. I'm 66 now. Honestly, I don't think I can do it anymore. It would be physically hard for me to do that.
Yeah. And it's funny. So if, what's your son's name again?
Lane.
So if Lane was 18 at the time, so you were a young mom and a young empty nester, right?
Uh-huh.
It's just like, similar to me. So my youngest was 20 when I had empty nested. So it was 2 years ago. Or no, was she 18? She was 18 when I empty nested. But I was also divorcing, and a lot of things were happening at the same time. But you know, you have really dove now deep into just this time of life. I really do think that 50 plus has just become this giant blur of like, what's next and what does this look like? And so I'm imagining that's kind of how you started Funny Women of a Certain Age. Tell everybody about that, because that's the show that's coming to Philly.
Yeah, well, you know, it's so funny that you said that about empty nester. So when my son, he moved out when he was 18, and we went full on into it. The night before he left, we were sitting in his room playing all his music that I used to drive when I would drive him to school when he was young, listening to that, sobbing our eyes out. P.S. They come back.
Oh, they coming back.
Oh, they come back. I mean, it's like I should have a revolving door, seriously. But so I was really, 50 is where, you know, you're just like, oh, okay, what do I do now? You know, and because our generation, you know, we don't want to just go, all right, I'm just gonna sit around and do nothing.
Yeah, lay and nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a type A anyway, so I was never doing nothing. You know, I'll be in my coffin going, hold on, I have one more thing I have to do. Yeah. So around 50, I realized also in stand-up, it's very sexist and it's very ageist. Mm-hmm. And I was touring all the time. When I came back from New York, I was a national headliner. And nobody was like, they were like, and that's when the internet was starting. Well, you don't have enough followers on this one. You don't have enough followers on this one. So I saw the writing on the wall, and I started directing, and I started producing. I helped people with their solo shows. You know, like I tried to keep in the business, and I still did stand up. But I went and did a podcast when I was around 58 years old, and it was a bunch of women, and we were talking, and we were having a great time. And I was coming back. I was walking back to the train station, and I called my husband on my cell phone, and I said, I think there should be a show with just women who've been around forever, but for whatever reason aren't superstars. And it was the first time ever, because, you know, comics, we always have ideas. We're always, and he said to me, he said, that's a great idea. And it snowballed. It absolutely snowballed. We got, we premiered at the Cinder Block Festival in Brooklyn. And I want to say it's got to be 2018 or 2019. And from there, somebody who was working the festival said, oh, I work at a theater. I think you guys, you know, my boss would love you guys. And that turned into a 6-year residency at the Crane on the Lower East Side. And the only reason it's not there anymore is because the theater closed.
Wow. And
so my partner, my producing partner, you know, I had produced a special. I was a supervising producer for a comedian named Shang Forbes. And the EP on that, we became really good friends. And he said, you should do this show on TV. And I mean, when I tell the story, it sounds so like, and then I did this, and then it seems like it's so easy, and it's not. To the people listening, this never happened in show business. I mean, I came up with the idea in October. We pitched it to a bunch of networks. I want to say November and December. We had a deal. We had a deal in April. So from October of one year to the April of next, that never happens.
Awesome. That means it's meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then when the first special was a huge hit. It was the number one comedy special for Showtime that year. And then we did 2 more, and then the pandemic hit, and everything went away.
But now you're back.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. We actually shot the 3rd special during the pandemic. Okay, so can I tell the story? Because this is a great story.
Yes.
Okay, so we go out. We're shooting the COVID protocols had lessened, so we decided to go to LA instead of doing it here on the East Coast. I fly out. I was like, this is it. I took my son. We were gonna, got a suite in a hotel. This was gonna be great. And we're driving to the hotel, and I get an email, and I look, and there's been a COVID situation. Let's just say that. And I'm like, So we check into the hotel. I spend the entire day on the phone with everybody, the network, my producers, the crew, and we ended up having to cancel the taping. The taping we drove in that Sunday, and we were taping that Tuesday, and we couldn't do it because there was a COVID exposure, and the liability, for me, my company, the network. I couldn't put any of my, people in danger. So we had and it was one of those days I literally was on the phone, like, those people that you hate that are on the phone in public. That was me, because my son's best friends were with us. We were going out to dinner. I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? So my partner's very smart. He said, let's rebook this right away at the same thing. So we did it a month later. But that was.
Yeah. Now, and you've had talk about some of the amazing people that you've had on this show.
Gosh, I mean, everyone on the show is ridiculous.
Awesome. I know. Well, everybody here knows Missy Hall. She's on the show a lot, and I know she's touring with you.
Missy, first of all, I know you feel the same way about Missy.
Mm-hmm.
Missy is, first of all, she's like a little ray of sunshine. Is that, by the way, vodka in that? I
wish. I have kidney stones, so I have to drink a couple of these a day. I try to mention it to people before we start, but I forgot to mention it to you. Sorry.
What is it? What is in that?
It's just lemonade and water, and I've got to
you gotta rinse the stuff. Yeah. Oh, I know. I know. So Missy is like my little secret weapon. Do you know what I mean? Because one of the things about the show, and I know this sounds really cocky, is I always say this: everyone that's on the show does an amazing job, like really does an amazing job. Because what's happened in comedy, I'm sure you're aware of this, is that there's people that they're okay, they're good. That's not my show. Everybody on my show is a killer. Mm-hmm. So Missy has not. We stopped doing the specials just before I was able to get Missy on, but we're hoping that the next round, when we get more, because you know me, I never say if, I always say when.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can get her on an actual television show. But like we had pitched the show, it'll be a big name, and then some, veterans. But it's so funny. The show was always to give women work. It was never about the star. It was always giving these women who are known, but just needed a little push.
Yeah.
But Showtime was like, we need people that have names. So we had Fran Drescher on the first one, who was and is the nicest and kindest celebrity I've ever met in my life. She couldn't be kinder. Then Caroline Ray, who is amazing, and then we had Terry Hatcher, who also, I mean, they were all great. You know, Terry, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, Lois Lane from Superman was on the show.
Wow.
Yeah, and then all the other girls, I can start listing them, but then I'll forget somebody, and then everyone will be pissed.
Yeah,
so I'm just doing the stars.
Yeah,
and then but I like to call, you know how on Stephen Colbert, he likes to call it the Colbert bump. Well, every time someone's on Colbert's show and something happens, he always calls it the Colbert bump. I call mine the Funny Women bump, because after Fran did my show, she ended up getting another sitcom, and she's president of SAG now.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then Lunel, who was on the first special also, is just burning up. I mean, she, Dave Chappelle just produced her special, and so I like that. I had just a smart, a little bit to say that, I put them back in the public eye so they could fly the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think that's what's so amazing about what you do. I don't know if you know, but I'm such a big fan of Ladies of Laughter and what Peggy Bliss does.
Oh, Peggy's the best.
Just because, for me, it was the first thing that I had really gotten, any kind of notoriety for. And that was in the amateur category 20 years ago. But, it was important for somebody to be like, no, you're funny. You should continue doing it. And, same as yours, at giving women a place who, are not yet at the part where everybody knows them. I think it's really funny. And I'm sure you've seen the same. Is, I'll be talking to my non-comedian friends. I'm like, oh, I was on a show with so-and-so. They're hilarious. This person. And they're like, who's that? I don't know that person.
Right.
You realize that there's like 1% of the comedians that you know. Right. And then underneath them, there's a ton that just have never made it to this level that are hysterical.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, are veterans comics and have been around for 20 or 30 years and 45 and who are just stellar, and you should know them and follow them. And I think that that's what's been so lovely about the internet. Like Leanne Morgan now.
Oh yeah. I'm so happy for her.
So happy for her. And she is so humble and so gracious about that journey and how long she's been doing it. And so it's been really nice to just kind of watch her rise. And
but anytime, like you know this, we're in a very competitive business, and it's you see it more, I think, more so with younger comics. And when I mean younger in the game, not
number one.
And there's you'll see it where they're like, how come they got that? We did that too. How come they got that? How come now? I'm like, when I see somebody, when I heard that Leanne had gotten her deal, I was like, good for her. That doesn't hurt me. It only helps my brand.
Yeah,
because she's an older woman.
Yeah,
and I always wanted her, and I want you on the show. I mean, I always want older women on the show, but everyone has their own. When somebody says to me, I can't do the show, it's either A, they're too busy, or they're doing their own thing, and that's what you're supposed to do. We're supposed, do your own thing. If you can make it, fine. If you can't, that's fine too. There's plenty of us.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting too, is even kind of like with the group of people that I started stand up with here in Philly, is really watching, what everybody does with their comedy. I know some people that are writing Hallmark movies, some people that are producing shows, some people are writing books, I think that comedy is so amazing. And I'm doing this weird thing every day. Like everybody has kind of found a way to take this wonderful thing, this skill set all of us have worked on, and then finding ways to just kind of bring it to the masses in whatever way that is. So,
yeah, I mean, and, there was a point, this was a while ago, just before I came up with the idea for the show, my mother-in-law, who has since passed, but she had her first stroke. And my husband works on Broadway. He's a child guardian. So he was just going into rehearsals for School of Rock. And they were that particular week, they were doing what they call the 10 to 12s, which is just before the show opens. They're at the theater from 10 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, rehearsing and getting the show set. So I made the decision, because I wasn't on the road a lot. I said, you know what, I'm gonna step back from stand-up for a couple of years. I ended up working in an agency, and I was booking comics and all that stuff. So I always wonder why you do stuff, like why life takes you that way. Because what that taught me is, when I ended up producing this show, now I know how to book a show because I was on the other end.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I still, you know, I would love to be on stage more than I am now, but I'm lazy and I'm tired and nobody, you know, that's one of the reasons why we're doing a matinee tomorrow. We're doing a matinee at 3:30 because the show's over. You'll be home in time to have dinner and watch 60 Minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't, you know, so I forgot. I've lost my train of thought now. That's good.
No, it's great. Everything you said. But I agree with you. Sometimes it's funny now that Jacqueline is doing stand up and, you know, you kind of find yourself in these weird jobs where you're doing radio or you're working backstage for something or that. I'm like, all of this helps you. Every part of entertainment that you can learn will help you because at some point, if you can learn the back end stuff when you're across the table and now you have to negotiate and you've been the performer out front and you've been the person in the back, you're better able to negotiate for yourself. And do you have stories about, you know, your show is so much about this dog with the water. It's enough water. The loudest drinking of water ever. Booby. Okay. Your show is, I'll talk louder. Your show is so much about encouraging women and bringing these voices, which I think are so important to hear and to find the humor in everything 50 plus. You know, have you had instances where you have been negotiating for yourself or trying to make deals where you felt like you're not being heard, because you're a woman, or, you know, have you seen that on the back end as well?
I have to tell you, honestly, I haven't. I mean, first of all, I think you know me well enough. People are afraid of me. So they never really do. I will tell you that when we were trying to pitch the show, when we had a big showcase, when we were trying to, before we ended up with Showtime and all, you know, Netflix and Amazon and all the big names were there. And I didn't hear this. Somebody had gone up to my partner and said, "This is a great idea for a show. How about we do it with younger women?" And it was like, okay, you have so missed the point. First of all, she was 12 herself. But do you know what I mean? So that was really the only instance. And by the way, the women, the actual name, you know, Funny Women of a Certain Age, my dream is to do a special for each age. Like there are women in their 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s. You can do it for any age. So you could do Funny Women of a Certain Age, the 30s. You know, you know, it's more about giving women a chance to be seen. I mean, it's changed. The business has changed so much. And you said 20 years you've been doing stand-up?
22, yeah.
Okay. You know, back in the day, I love saying that because I feel like my grandmother now, but back in the day, when you got a special, it was special. You know what I mean? Everyone is doing a special now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of watered down. It's watered down the whole business because it's no longer, it's like, I remember when Carlin, every year he had specials on HBO. That was a big deal. You sat around and you waited for Carlin to do it. Now everyone has a special. So it's
not special.
It's not special. I always joke, people go, well, you're going to do your own? And I'm like, no, but if I did, the title would be called The Carole Montgomery Ordinary.
The what?
The Carole Montgomery Ordinary.
Ordinary. Mm-hmm. Not special.
Not special. The not special, because I just, you know, it's changed. So it's easier for anybody now, male or female comedy, to just film a special and get it up and be seen. But what this brand does is it has a name. So when you say you're doing the show, it means something because, you know, it's not just everything else. Yeah. You know, and because I think stand-up has gotten very watered down.
Yeah, I agree. Now you're also, besides producing the show, is this film new or where?
No, this film was actually done before the pandemic.
Oh.
A good friend of mine, PJ Landers, who runs a comedy club here in the city called the Comedy Village. And he said, I wrote this little short film. It's about my mom. I'd like you to play my mom. And that's the thing. I'm sure you feel this way too. He's not young anymore, but a lot of younger male comics, especially, and the female comics too. Like you take comics under your wing. I have tons of babies in the comedy world. You know what I mean? Like Gina Brione and Liz Miele. They were my babies before they blew up. You know what I mean? And PJ was one of these people, and he said, "I want you to play my mom," and which was great because I got to break his cojones a lot. But and it's and everyone who's seen it is blown away. They can't believe, and I'm like, as a comic, how to. This sounds terrible, but how to manipulate an audience. So the scenes that everyone's talking about, acting is not as hard as everybody thinks it is. I just knew, okay, when I say this line, there's got to be this type of, and that's what, I don't know. I know your producer saw it, but that's why it comes off like, oh my God. I'm like, no, I'm no Meryl Streep in any way, shape, or form.
So what's the name of it so people can find it?
Oh my God. What is the name of it?
Rockaway Sunset. Is that it?
Rockaway Sunset. Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's online or not, but it's one, PJ just kept sending it out. It's won a bunch of awards. I've won a bunch of awards, which is like so funny to me. Because it's like, we'd like to thank the Academy. I don't even have an award. I don't even have a piece of paper. I just,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I don't want to brag, Carol. I was not in a feature film, but I will be playing reporter number 4 in an upcoming movie that comes out next year.
Yay!
And I feel like that they're probably like, how they have different sections like best actress, best supporting actress. I bet that they have like best reporter number 4.
I do.
Probably like not done on the stage. It's probably like, how they do a lot off stage with like lighting and makeup. Yeah. It's probably there, so you probably won't see it.
Yeah. What's the name of the movie?
It's a great question. It's called Rockaway Sunset. No, I forget, but I'm gonna find out. When it comes out, I'm gonna know. And I want to go to the red carpet. Like I'm like this. If there's a red carpet, I'm showing up with a sign that says I'm reporter number 4.
See, I have no interest in any of that. Like I do not, I basically, people always say when I do put makeup on and people go, wow, you clean up well. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't like to clean.
Yeah, no.
The way you'll know when I do TV, whether it's TV or, that film I had to play down because I was dying. Mm-hmm. But I always say to my friends, you'll know when I'm doing the next TV show because I won't be eating.
Yeah.
And I'll actually wash my hair.
Wow. Okay.
I don't like, there's nothing, there's nothing on this face that, makeup is going to really change. And as I get older, I wish I had a photo to show you. I look so much like my father.
Really?
I have a solo show called I Am My Father's Son. I look so much like my father. Like I send pictures to my husband and son because we have like you have a text chain with your kids and your family. Uh-huh. And my son's like, wow, you are looking more and more like Poppy every day.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. So I would have liked to have looked like my mother, though.
Yeah, we all do. We all do. Now, which one of your parents was the funny one?
Both were. But my dad, and this is what the solo show was about, is my dad was a very larger than life human being. Like in the show, I say, he didn't just walk into a room, he commanded it. Mm. So he was the loud, obnoxious one. Hello. I inherited that from him. But my mom was subtle comedy. Do you know what I mean? Like she didn't look funny because she had to deal with it. The story I always tell is, this is when I was a teenager, I was cooking fish for the family. So we had a little cat, and I was cutting up the fish, and I took a piece of the fish and I threw it at her before I put it, and my mother literally said to me word for word, "What are you giving her raw fish for? What do you think she is, an animal?" And she really said that. Like that was my mother.
Yeah. No, yesterday, so I have 3 dogs, Carol, and there's too many dogs. But
not as many as Missy.
Not as many as nobody beats Missy, the number of animals she has. But I was sitting here, I was trying to get some work done, or was on the phone or something, and the dog was just doing the one dog, Lulu. And I was like, Lulu, you're acting like an animal. And then I heard it. And then but I was like, you are ridiculous. Here, I'll introduce you to Lulu. Lulu, come here.
Lulu.
Come here, Lou.
Lulu. I adopted a senior dog.
You did?
Yeah, I have a dog. But she's in the other room with Daddy.
Come on, Lou. Lou is usually a co-host on the morning show. Come on, come say hi to Carol. She has outfits, mostly just hair.
Hi, Lulu. Oh, she's beautiful.
Yes.
Hi, Lulu.
Come on.
Hi, Lulu.
Oh,
she's got that look like, am I doing something wrong?
Yeah, no.
Hi, Lulu.
That's her resting face.
Hi. Oh, she's beautiful. I would bring out my dog, but she's sitting. She loves me, but my husband walks in and that's it. It's over. It's over. She sleeps on his head. I tell people I got a senior dog so we could be incontinent together.
I was going to say, why did you specifically want to get a senior dog?
Well, what happened was we decided we wanted to foster. When my mother-in-law was alive, she said, I don't want dogs because I'm allergic. It wasn't because she was allergic. She smoked 4 packs of cigarettes a day. But anyway, so what we would do is we would take care of dogs. Like we would board them, just the friends needed to go away. And finally, I remember saying to her, let's foster a dog. Let's just foster one. So we were originally going to get a puppy. And that, of course, puppies get taken immediately. Mm-hmm. And so they said, would you take Peanut? And she was also a Chihuahua mix. And, we had her 2 days. We were like, we're not giving this dog. Mm-hmm. And
Carrie said you should start a new show called Adopting Dogs of a Certain Age.
I'll think about it.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I think also rugs of a certain age.
Exactly. Always use rugs. Hashtag rugs.
But she's it's so funny because Wendy Levin has a great joke about this. She said, she adopted a dog, from a dog rescue, and the dog was like 8, and turns out the dog was 12. She goes, even in Los Angeles, they age shame you. But it's such a great joke, and I laugh every time because that's exactly what happened with my dog. They said she was 8 and she's 12.
That's really funny. Yeah.
So, but she's great, and hopefully, I mean, we love our animals, and I can't even fathom. I'm hoping she's a Chihuahua. She's a Chiweenie, so she's half Dachshund and half Chihuahua. So she's got the face of a Dachshund, but the butt of a Dachshund.
That's really funny.
She's adorable, but hopefully she'll live a long time.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So 45 years of stand-up. You've done every headlining gig, USO like shows. You've done producing. Like, is there anything else kind of on your checklist that you think about that, like if I had my druthers, that this is something, is there anything else left that you feel like I would really like to do this?
I've always wanted to do a sitcom. Back in the day when I was young, I wanted it to be my sitcom. Now I can be Doris Roberts, the woman, Ray Romano's mom, and everyone. Like, all I want to do is open up the door, say something wacky, and walk out. That's that. So if anybody in Hollywood is listening, I come cheap. You'll still have to pay me SAG. But I mean, that's really the only thing left because I have done everything. Overseas tours, colleges, casinos, cruises. I've done all of that. I love being on the set of a sitcom. When Fran was doing the sitcom she got after she did Funny Women, she had reached out because she wanted me to open for her. She was doing stand-up at the Hollywood Improv, and she said, would you come out and open for me? And it was during the time that she was taping, so we ended up going to the taping. And every time I walk on a soundstage, I just go, I love this. I mean, I can't explain it. I just love it. And, we were backstage and, running around. Everything about it I loved. So that would be the only thing. But I think I've done everything,
That's awesome. You never thought about writing a book? Has that ever been in your...
Yes. But you tell me, since you're such a, you don't really do anything all day long. So you tell me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, of course I have a book. I have a book that I wrote about my son leaving. He's 32 now. He left when he was 18, and I still haven't finished writing that book. But yes, when I sit in places, when I do stuff like this and talk, I realize that I have a great story, and it should be, because because a lot of women don't, women, they don't know what to do after their child leaves. They don't know what to do if their husband leaves.
Yeah,
And it's like, this is the time to do everything. You have nothing holding you back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I should write a book, but thanks. I'll add that to the list, Dina. Thanks a lot.
Listen, there's a great group called Story Summit. It's storysummit.us. And I found them last year through a friend of mine. And I started writing a book all about kind of the worst 3 years of my life, which is what we're currently in and coming out of. And same thing. It was something I always thought about, and people are like, "Oh, you should write a book." And I was like, "Oh, whatever." But it's been great. And so Missy and I have these writing groups, and we do this thing called 45-15. So we'll either be in the same place or we'll get on Zoom and we'll talk for 15 minutes and then we write for 45, and we just keep doing that. And so it's just this kind of accountability. It's kind of great that she's writing hers at the same time I'm writing mine. Yeah. And so then like in that 15, she's like, "What'd you write?" And I'll tell her, and vice versa. But it's just kind of great to be sitting with a comedian, because you'll be like, "This is what I wrote." She's like, "You know what you should add this part." And you're like, "Oh, that's good." And then hers is harder to punch up because it's cancer. I'm like,
yeah, I know, it's not real.
Yeah, it's a little harder with Missy's. But it's, I think you should. I think that, just sitting here for the last hour talking to you is so interesting. And I know that we haven't even touched the surface, but I think that you and your stories and the stories of all the women that are on these shows, Funny Women of a Certain Age, are worth listening to and laughing about and finding the humor in, and the passion and the pain that comes with your kids leaving and then showing back up again and then rolling down the steps this morning and making you have a heart attack. So
I'm curious. I have a question for you, since you have to. Do your kids ever do this where because they're adults now?
Yeah, ish.
They're adults.
Yeah, ish.
And they'll be like, "I can't find this. I can't find my." Do your kids live with you?
I have one that lives in the basement. 2 just moved to Brooklyn, so you may run into them on the comedy scene if you see Blizzard. That's mine.
But you know what I mean? I'll walk in and he's like, "I can't find this." And I'll walk into his room. He doesn't live with us anymore, but I would do that. And I go, "It's right there." Like, he'll still call me when he needs me.
Yes.
It's like, "Mom."
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
And
no.
I'm like,
we have a rule in our house, and I don't know if it's just us. Please tell me if anyone listening had this rule in their house. We have a rule, and I don't know if my mom started it or if it's a thing. But when they were kids, Carol, if I said, "Go downstairs and go get this dish that I need," or whatever, they'd go down the steps. A few minutes later, they can't find it. I go, "Did you look where I told you to look?" "Yeah, I looked. It's not there." "Then look around. It's around there." And we'd go back and forth, the whole thing. "Can't find it." I go. So the rule was, if I go down there and I find it, then I get to hit you. And it's the greatest rule ever. My mom used to do it to us all the time. So the next part, "Hold on, let me go look again." And you'd go look again, and you're like, "I'm telling you, it's not there." So it literally happened yesterday. I sent Jacqueline downstairs to get this hard drive I needed. And she came upstairs. She goes, "I just want to say this. It is not where you said." I go, "It's on the black table." She goes, "First, there's 2 black tables." So we had a big fight about how many black tables there were. Then I went downstairs and I said, "Did you look around?" I go, "You know the rule. If I find it, I'm going to hit you." And she's like, "You can't do that." And I can't. So I went downstairs and I was like, I lifted a basket, I opened a bin, and there it was. She was like, "That doesn't even remotely count." I said, "I'm going to hit you later. Hold on to it, but just know that I'm owed 1 punch." And it's the greatest thing ever. And it really gets those kids to focus a little more. But it was very funny.
That's so funny. I used to say, people used to say, "Do you hit your child?" I said, "No, but I threaten really good." And my son is 6'3". To this day, if I put on that face, he crumbles. Yeah. What I do? I'm like, and I've never hit him, but I scare him. I think scaring.
Did Lane ever try stand up? Is he?
Not yet, but I'm sure that's coming.
Okay.
And then, of course, he'll be doing it a day and get his own series, because that's the way show business is.
Mm-hmm.
He is a musician. He's a songwriter. He manages a rock venue in New York City now. And so he decided, it is fun to watch your kids grow up and to see them make smart decisions, which is like shocking. but he started working. He was still working, doing a band and then doing odd jobs. And then he started doing stuff where he'd work part-time at like the Bowery Ballroom, and he'd do merchandise or hospitality or whatever else they needed, tickets and everything. And he did this for years. And then he finally got offered a job to manage one of the rooms because everyone knew he was a good worker.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I'm very proud of him because I think like, wow, that's amazing that like both my husband and I said, listen, you know, this is a great job to have. You're still in the industry. Doesn't mean you can't still do music, but you're running one of the biggest venues in the city.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It is. It's been nice. My kids are 24, 22, and 20. And it's amazing to kind of watch where they are. But same thing. I get ignored most of the time. But you can tell from the second that it's either mom, that, or it's mom. Or just the way that that first mom comes out, you're like, Mom. How much money do you need? Yeah.
I went. Do I have a minute? Is it okay?
Yeah,
okay. So I went to see him yesterday because I was doing a show in the Lower East Side. So I walked over to where he was working. And so he was like, he goes, I'm so glad you're here. I said, well, he goes, I just have to get this off my chest. He rides his bike to work every day. And he said that that somebody, the bike lanes were all messed up. So he was riding in the car lane. And when he was making the turn to go to his, no, he's fine. He's fine. Yeah. Making the turn to go into, there was a guy on a motorcycle. And he goes with the Jersey license plate. And he goes, get on the bike lane. And he was so mad that the response he wanted to say, of course, was go back to Jersey. But he was like, he goes, I'm so glad you're here because I was so angry. He goes, now I'm talking to you and we're talking about this stuff. But it was very sweet because it was like, I said, honey, listen, in your head, you did it. You know, and you don't really want to engage with a guy on a motorcycle because you have a two-wheeled bike that's not mechanical.
You lose.
You lose either way. But it was very fun. Like it is fun. Yes, absolutely. He has his own life and do what you have to do. But it is so wonderful when you talk to your kids like they're grown-ups and you're like, oh, I made that. Oh, that's pretty cool. Like I call him my Yoda when I'm very stressed and I feel like he's very calm and he's just always like, well, mother, because he's like his father. His father is kind and sweet and even keel. And I'm like, somebody pisses me off. That's why I don't have a gun, Dina, because if I had a gun,
people would be murdered.
And that's why I think when people, if you can handle a gun, go for it. I would not be able to.
You're not those people.
I am not those people.
You're not those people. So if you're looking for a non-gun totaling funny show tomorrow in Philadelphia, this is the one. It's called Funny Women of a Certain Age. Make sure you check out the website, CarolMontgomery.com. You can find out all the information about the tour. Find out when these ladies are coming to your town. Missy's been on a bunch of these shows, but the other women on these shows are equally as hilarious and friends of mine, and I love all of them. Is there something else?
I just wanted to say who's on the show. Julia Scotti.
Okay. Oh, you love her.
And Anita Wise.
Oh, I love it. That's
it's a Jersey. It's except for me because Jersey, but it's a Jersey local show in Philly. We did the show in Philly a year ago because Missy was on that show.
Right.
It really is the pleasure of going into a comedy club and knowing that you'll be home in time for dinner. Mm-hmm. People love that. The only thing that I'm worried about, and if people who are listening, if you're, the Phillies are playing the Mets tomorrow, and our show is at 3:30, and they're playing at 4. But ladies, I'm a baseball fan.
Yeah.
Let your husband go watch the game. Come. He's gonna be very disappointed because the Mets are gonna win, and So, but go have. This is if you can bring your man, bring your man. If not, bring your friends. We have women that rent buses and vans to come see us. So come, we'll have a blast. And Dina's going to be on one of them soon, I promise.
Soon. Well, thank you so much, Carol, for joining us. This was so lovely. Everybody, thanks for joining us on our Saturday edition of One Funny Morning. We'll be back on Monday with lots more stuff. But have a great weekend and a blessed weekend. And we will see you guys on Monday morning. Thanks for watching.
Hey, guys, if you enjoyed today's morning show, make sure to follow us for more One Funny Mother content.
Okay, all right. Morse code is tapping.
And check out OneFunnyMotherStore.com for great new inappropriate swag. And for more exclusive content, consider becoming a supporter.
She got a bad leg.